So I would now like to introduce you all to Tracy Singh, who we've worked very closely with and who has led the development and delivery of this from TAFE Queensland perspective, and has enormous experience in the micro-credential area. So I'll hand over to you, Tracy.
Thanks very much, Mandy, and thanks so much everybody for attending today. It's lovely to see so many people here, and and such a lot of interest in this project, which obviously there's been a lot of contribution of time and effort and energy, certainly not just from our team, but also from the people that participated in the development of the project and reviewed, and the advisory committees and the subject matter experts that we had as well, which all made this process like just a really great process and a really rewarding project to work on. And we've got a lot of interest both during the process, but also since it's been launched as well. So today I really just wanted to take you through and do a bit of a product demonstration. So what I'm going to do first of all is give you a bit of an idea about what micro-credentials are and how TAFE Queensland actually approaches micro-credentials, the different ways that you can use them, and just and then a bit about the product design, take you through. I will show you a few videos in the product as well, so we'll spend a little bit of time looking at some of the videos because there's some really nice ones there, and then I'll talk to you about the learning objectives and and how we try to design it so that people get the best possible outcomes for this as well. But the feedback that we've had since it's been launched has been fantastic, and I really think that is testament to the great work that Mandy, Tanya, Faye, like the whole team have done, as well as everybody who's contributed to that project as well. So thank you very much. So TAFE Queensland micro-credentials, micro-credentials are, in a way a new product, but in another way not a new product. Certainly they are sort of short, fairly succinct courses, but the micro-credential structure is a little bit different. So they're not intended to actually overtake formal qualifications, units of competency, that type of thing. That's not where micro-credentials sit in the education framework. The idea of micro-credentials is that they're quite short and they're sharp. We have a micro-credential framework that really does anything from about, the 2 to 3 hours sort of approach up to potentially 75 hours. I can say that we haven't done any 75-hour ones, and there's none on the horizon, but, they usually are around the short, sharp, looking at specific skills that industry is after that may be gaps in the training package, but it's not necessarily that they're gaps in the training package. They may just be an area of additional focus that you think is required. They're really flexible. So we use micro-credentials as potential solutions to rapid upskilling. So we do it a lot in, obviously emerging skills with technology, looking at key skills, so digital enterprise technical skills. And it can also be really, when you're talking about enterprise skills, sometimes you're talking about soft skills, for example, like communication, collaboration, being able to work as part of a team and that type of thing. But the other way that we look at it is also industry skills. So really being able to keep up with the demands of industry at a lot faster pace than qualifications can potentially do. So they are quite agile. We're able to update them and contextualize. They're not accredited. So that means that we really are able to adapt them quite quickly to the changing needs of industry if we need to. And they're quite flexible. There's a lot of adaptable delivery strategies. This one's, for example, is a self-paced online micro-credential. So it's something that people enroll in and they've got the opportunity to do it at their own time. You can actually go in there, do a little bit, come out, go back in there, that type of thing. We do find some people do that, but you can also, the micro-credentials, if you've got a couple of hours to go through it, is just a good thing to be able to fit into schedules and everything as well. So it allows people to really tailor the training to their particular needs. So I might just stop there quickly and see if there's any questions about how we use micro-credentials or what they are. And I probably should have the chat on. So feel free to put something in the chat or let me know as well. Thanks, Faye. So the features of micro-credentials as TAFE Queensland actually use them at the moment is they are non-accredited, so they're not a unit of competency or a qualification. They do cover those sort of technical enterprise skills, and they also can cover attributes as well. So attributes are quite interesting because they can be characteristics like motivation and everything, which you know, often are sort of fundamental elements of training package qualifications and everything. But this allows us to draw some of those elements out in a bit more detail. There's a range of delivery modes. As I said, this is online self-paced. We can also do, you know, we also do micro-credentials in a workshop delivery. We can do it face-to-face. We can do it classroom-based. And we do have longer micro-credentials that actually use a combination of those elements for the outcomes for the students. Digital badging is a pretty new thing as well. It's starting to be a little bit more prevalent now, certainly. But at the end of this micro-credential, what we award people with is certainly, you know, they get a digital certificate, but they also get a digital badge that they're able to share on social media, things like LinkedIn. It comes with a web link, so you can actually put that into resumes and everything, and it's verifiable. So it's not just a digital badge that sits there. If you click on the link that's associated with that digital badge, it will be verifiable as a TAFE Queensland award or qualification. So you'll be able to verify that people have actually completed the course and that that digital badge is valid. So specifically talking about the NDIS workforce fundamentals, and thanks again, Tanya, I think you did a great job on the background and everything of the project. And, you know, I was looking back at those dates and thinking, it doesn't feel like that long ago, but time's gone pretty quickly in the last couple of years, that's for sure. So these are the learning objectives. When we develop a micro-credential, pretty much how we start with the development process is we look at a course concept, first of all. Now that course concept, as in this stage, might be actually provided to us. So it's like, this is the course that we want. But then we start to break it down to, okay, what are the student outcomes that we're looking for from this micro-credential? Once we've got the course and the learning objectives and student outcomes and everything, then we start to put together the structure of the course. So what topics, subtopics, what is the sequencing, what's the flow, you know, how is that actually going to be presented? So we do spend a bit of time at the start of most of these projects doing that sort of process, and this will all be very familiar to Mandy and Tanya, who are involved in that as well as the other stakeholders. And once we've done that, then we start to actually develop the content around there and then just make sure that the content is using the right language. We spend a lot of time in these micro-credentials, making sure that we've got the language right and the approach right and everything. We are very cognizant of how important that is. And these are all actually developed, you know, they're not developed using any existing resources, they're actually developed from scratch. And we do have quite a thorough consultation process, which I think would have been going for a minimum of about 12 months or so during the development of this. So, and that's just taking it back to people who are actually working in industry and making sure that not only the content and the design actually resonates with them. So what we're trying to do is when we're having these conversations and collating all this information, we're trying to make a course that when we bring back to people, it really resonates with them. They're like, yes, that's what we were talking about. That's what we mean. That's the language that we need to have available. You know, that's how we want this framed up and presented. So, Mandy, I didn't know if you wanted to add anything to that at all. But,
no, that was great. Thanks, Tracy. And yes, we definitely had extensive consultation, and we really, the language, yeah, I can't stress enough, is so critical in this industry and area, and also, you know, ensuring that we were incredibly you know, culturally appropriate, and ensuring that we captured those perspectives as well.
We're really grateful for the amount of expertise that we get, you know, we get to work with people that are just such, you know, experts in their field and have such a wealth of experience and everything, and all it does is contribute to the outcome of the project. You know what I mean? You can't do these type of things in a vacuum. So having access to the stakeholders throughout the process is just invaluable as far as we're concerned. So now for the part that you've probably all been waiting for, rather than me going on about micro-credentials. So I'll share my screen now. So let me know if you can see that now. Excellent. All right, so I'll take you through the product. Certainly happy to take questions throughout or afterwards. I probably can't do a presentation and keep much of an eye on the chat, but feel free to interrupt me. I'm happy for you to do that. Or maybe somebody else can keep an eye on the chat and interrupt me if you want to as well. So this is the welcome page to the NDIS Workforce Fundamentals Micro-credential. Again, it's not intended to replace formal qualifications and everything. It would take about 2 to 3 hours probably to work through. So now if you were just to flick through the pages, if you have a look at the pages, we've got, this is the introduction, then you've got the videos, which I'll show you in a sec. Then you've got these topics. Strengths-based approach, then we've got roles and responsibilities, and then you've got a summary. So it's not really about the amount of content that we've got in this necessarily. What it's really about is just the elements of the content and the activities and the exploration that we're trying to encourage participants to do as they go through it. So these are pretty much the learning objectives that we had a look at for the NDIS Workforce Fundamentals. I won't spend a lot of time on that, and you probably won't be able to read necessarily as I go along. Just a bit of a caveat, because I won't stay on the pages for all that long. What we've got is, what is the NDIS? So we start off with a bit of an explanation about the NDIS and the different, what it actually stands for a start, and a bit of a definition, because it's really important to frame that up. I would say that we were very fortunate with this to actually get a video, and I was going to show that video, Mandy, if you're happy for me to do that. Yeah, okay. So we were very, very fortunate to get a video. We've got Dave here, Dave Story. He's a self-managed NDIS participant with lived experience. And I think the video is well worth showing you. It goes for about 4 minutes. So I'll just expand that and share that now. And maybe, Tanya, will you give me a thumbs up if you can hear the sound? You should be able to, because I've turned it on.
Workability Queensland acknowledges the Yurebara people as the traditional custodians of the land on which this video was filmed. We honour their elders, past, present and emerging. We also extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who may view this video. May we walk gently on this land. This is a short film to introduce NDIS workforce and future workers to the qualities a participant with lived experience expects from his support workers. This is my story. Since my accident, art has always been there for me. It's helped me improve my vision, where I can distinguish some colours. Art is one of my many strengths. Hi, my name's Dave Conway. I live in Mackay. I'm an artist, an author, a businessman, and an NDIS self-management participant. I like to keep really busy. I work at the Artist Collective Caneland shop. I advocate for people with disability through the work I do. I published a book. It's a motivational and inspirational book full of motivational quotes, which are all original, which I came up with matching artwork. I also have a website, which is artfromtheblindside.com, and it displays all my work, which you can also purchase from me. What does employing my own staff mean to me? Well, it means I have control over every part, and I get to train them in a way that suits me as an individual. I have different support workers for different things. One support worker helps me out at the Artist Collective shop. One is really good with personal care, but they're a great team that help manage my life. What sort of qualities do I look for in a support worker? I look for ones that are respectful. Maintaining personal boundaries is very important, as is workplace health and safety. I want people to work in a safe environment. I definitely want ones that understand that things that happen in my home are personal and they stay, because it's very private and confidential. Basic common sense is something that I really value. Before the NDIS, I did have some unfortunate situations I went through. I had the supervisor talk about all my personal details in front of me to all of the staff members, and they didn't ask my permission for that. Another situation that I was witness to was the supervisor training some new support staff, and they were told that they weren't allowed to work with both hands above their head. It was rather interesting because I told a friend of mine later on, and he started laughing, saying, "Well, that's great. How are they going to hang your washing out?" That really made me feel quite degraded to think that they weren't thinking about me as a person and how they would help me. Some support staff I've had have been really good. I travelled 7 times in 2019 to Brisbane doing work with the same support staff. She knew my routine that well that we didn't need to talk about it by the end. She even knew which shops I preferred to shop at by the end of it, which is great. It's no point walking past a ladies shop and her telling me about it because I don't wear ladies clothes and don't plan to either. Some of the best support workers I've had have had no experience with disability or care. They were just practical people that jumped into the job, and they turned out to be some of the best support workers I've ever had. Just get in there, have a go, be respectful, and you'll get there. So on that note, good luck with your learning and your journey.
There you go. So that was great. Like, we were really fortunate to have the opportunity to work with Dave and to include that video. I think it's a great introduction to the course and really gives people some context for the learning that they're going to be doing as well. So a little further on the next page or so, a couple of pages later, what we've also done is created some characters that we use throughout the course to actually develop scenarios and case studies and get people to reflect on. So I might also just show you the videos with these characters. They're about 1 or 2 minutes each, just so that you can have a look at the characters as well that we've developed. And then I'll take you through the rest of the course and show you how we've actually utilised those characters. I won't put it full screen. I'll just go through and do it like this. Can everybody see, or would you rather I put it on full screen? Is that right? Yeah, cool.
Meet Bruce. Bruce is a proud Aboriginal 40-year-old man whose traditional lands are Bamaga, a town located on the northern tip of Cape York, Queensland, 1,000 kilometres northwest of Cairns. Bruce identifies strongly with family, language and culture. He often reflects on when he was younger and the life he led with greater connection to land. He tells wonderful stories rich with culture and tradition. Bruce also loves footy and fishing. Bruce receives 24-hour support from a service provider in a supported, independent living arrangement. This is in Cairns, a long way from home, and he misses his country and his family. Bruce has an acquired brain injury following a fall 6 years ago due to a hypoglycemia, low blood sugar episode. Bruce sustained further brain injury following a diabetic coma a year later. As a result, Bruce has impaired physical and cognitive functioning and is vulnerable to ongoing health complications. In many Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander languages, there is no equivalent word for disability. Bruce now has complex health needs that require ongoing supervision and support. Although Bruce has moderate language skills, he does exhibit some difficulties with processing information, memory recall, impulse control and problem solving. Bruce requires assistance to carry out many activities of daily living, or ADLs.
So that's Bruce. Now we've got Mia as well. So I'll just show you this video.
Meet Mia. Mia is a highly energised 18-year-old woman with autism. Mia lives with her family on the Gold Coast, including her mum, dad and 2 younger siblings. Mia is gay and proudly open about her sexuality. Mia's family are not so comfortable and prefer she keep her sexual expressions to herself. Mia finished school last year and is looking for a course in an area that interests her and that she may be able to find work in. Mia loves cooking, space travel and gardening. For recreation, Mia enjoys running, dancing and seeing live bands. Mia has previously had decisions made for her by her parents, but now she is 18, she is starting to gain an understanding of her rights and is learning skills to self-advocate.
Then we've got Frederick.
Meet Frederick. Frederick is a 47-year-old male who lives west of Brisbane. Frederick lives with 2 co-tenants in a supported independent living arrangement, which provides 24-hour support to him. Frederick has a good rapport with his staff. He is generally an easygoing man. Frederick has a strong family support network. However, they prefer that Frederick makes most of his decisions himself, and they will support him in his choices. Frederick has an intellectual impairment and requires support and prompts for most activities. He is fully mobile and has good gross and fine motor skills. He loves routine and can become a little unsettled if his routine is not followed. Frederick has strategies in place which reassure him, but if these are not followed, he can become upset or even agitated. With familiar staff and clear direction for them to follow, Frederick is easily able to be supported and will quickly settle to his usual easygoing self. Frederick enjoys going out and being involved in his local community and has a keen interest in cars. He will often go to car shows and the Speedway.
And then Michaela is actually a character that is a caseworker. Meet Michaela.
Meet Michaela. Michaela is new to support work, having completed her Certificate 3 in Individual Support Disability stream just 6 months prior. She has been working regularly for an organisation and now supports several people on a regular basis. She was not very confident when she first started working as a support worker, but has been enthusiastic and willing to listen and learn from others. She now has a better understanding of her role under the NDIS and, importantly, has excellent communication and interpersonal skills. This allows her to connect easily to the people she supports and usually those she works alongside. Michaela is really open to feedback and understands that she still has a lot to learn, and with excellent professional, reflective practice, is likely to continue to grow and learn all throughout her career.
So they're the 4 characters that we introduced at the start of the course. And just to give you a bit of a demonstration of the rest of the course and how we actually utilise those characters through the course, rather than with courses which often have quizzes and that type of thing, and a few tests throughout the course, what we wanted to do with this one is really have a look at encouraging reflective practice, for example. So we use these characters to create scenarios so that you can go through and you can actually have a look at the scenario and flick through. The good thing about this as well, what we try to do is we understand when we're designing courses, for example, that there are a lot of people with different digital literacy skills in all of our student cohort. To be honest, we cover a very, very broad area. So particularly for micro-credentials, we want to make sure that people with sort of lower level, confidence in accessing things digitally are able to actually navigate and progress through the course without interruption. So, for example, in those situations, we would never do a quiz that might have 10 questions and you have to get, at least 6 right to be able to progress. We don't put roadblocks like that in there. What we like to do is either, if we do have a quiz in those circumstances, we might do, okay, if you get 4 out of 5, the one that you didn't get right, then we'll provide some additional support with that one as well. But here, these are really good, and they are quite, they scattered throughout the course fairly regularly. And after we introduce a topic or a piece of information, we actually look at that, and it's just a way of going through and reflecting on the different things that you can actually do to support the people throughout that. So this is another one for just a reflection for cultural diversity. We've also got some information where you've got sort of, this is getting the level of support right. So you've got this sort of information where you might just have a look and see, okay, what does over-involved look like? What does ideal look like? What does under-involved look like? Gives a bit of an example and takes a little bit of time to reflect on that as well, but which is also supported again on the next page by some different case studies and some different applications to the characters. So you can actually see how you would apply that. We want this course to be quite practical. So we want to give people the information they need, but also give them strategies to be able to apply that information and use that information in the workforce, which is really important. These are just some of the, as you'll see when I'm clicking through, we have levels of interactivity for sure. We have the animations, we have videos, we have those different reflections. They're all pretty, there's not a lot of, we don't put bells and whistles for the sake of putting bells and whistles, I guess is what I'm saying. It's not to, it needs to have a value and a purpose. I mean, if people are just looking at static content and going through these pages, it's not that engaging, to be honest. So we do try to make it engaging and interactive, but without making it complex or difficult for people to navigate or engage with those different interactions. And this is just an example of some of the different ranges, range of disability types that people might, sorry, I'll let it load, that people might encounter when they're working. There's different reading, there's links to different reading, there's links to research, then there's a scenario, and then again, there's a bit of a case study to work through that as well. And then the last topic is really about just, what makes a great support worker, the type of things that you need to think about when you're actually in that role, and some of the ways that you can improve your skills. So yeah, so that probably gives you a bit of an idea about the course and the content, how we've designed it, what the learning objectives are, and what the outcomes we want for students. We haven't had students in the course have many problems with navigating it, I would say, and I say this for most of the ones. The first micro-credentials we actually did was in the mining and resources sector, and it was actually teaching people with no digital literacy skills how to actually get digital literacy skills. So doing that in an online format was quite challenging, and we spent a lot of time actually thinking about the educational design, the technical design, and what the course needed, how the course needed to be. And in that one, after we did all that, we got over 95% of people that had no difficulty at all navigating the course. So we thought that was a good starting point. That's probably about 3 years ago, and we've certainly refined our processes since then as well. So I might hand back to either Mandy or Tanya now and just see if you guys have any questions.
Does anyone have any questions they would like to ask or put in the chat? I can see something's come up here. How do service providers implement this as part of induction, and how do I provide this to students becoming support workers in the industry? So this resource is actually freely accessible through either TAFE Queensland website or Workability Queensland website. And actually that was one thing we were going to just flag, Tracy, was the registration process. Did you want to talk to that?
Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks, Mandy. So the best way to share it on your website, I would think, and sorry, I haven't got this up before, but I might just get it up now just to show you where it is probably to link to the page on our website. This is the page that I think that you could absolutely link to, because it does have a lot of information. It's got the registration form there. So you just click on that to be able to register. It's also got a copy of the brochure, which gives you a bit more information. And it's got the information on the Workability Queensland website as well. So if you click the registration form, there is just a registration form that comes up where you just need to fill in these particular details. And after you submit that, sure, yes, I could. That's a great idea. After you submit that, that will go through to our student management services team, and they will actually register in the course and be able to log in. So yeah, so it's a pretty simple process. It's not an immediate process, I would just say as well. It will take a couple of days for us to get you to log into the course and get you access to the course, but once you're in there, you'll just be able to complete it and come and go. If you're an existing student and you've got an existing student number, that's worth having with you as well. But either way, we'll just be enrolling people into that course. So it's probably about 3 days for that process.